نحمده ونصلي على رسول الكريم ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Respected viewers and listeners, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Today we shall try to read a few more verses and then understand the underlying meanings from chapter number 4, Al-Nisa, starting from verse number 22. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولا تنكحوا, O believers, do not marry ma nakha abakum, whom your fathers had married, means of the women, illa ma qad salaf, except what had happened in the past. Innahu kana fahisha, surely it is an immoral act, wa makta, and a hateful thing, wa sa'a sabila, an evil way. Hurimat alaykum ummahatukum, unlawful to you in marriage are ummahatukum, your mothers, wa banatukum, and your daughters, wa akhawatukum, and your sisters, wa ammatukum, and the sisters of your fathers, wa khalatukum, and the sisters of your mothers, wa banatul akh, and unlawful marriage to you are, O believers, daughters of your brothers, wa banatul ukht, and daughters of your sisters, wa ummahatukum allati ardanakum, and your foster mothers who have nursed you, wa akhawatukum narada, and the foster sisters are also unlawful to you in marriage. Wa ummahatu nisaikum, and unlawful to you in marriage are mothers of your wives. Wa raba'ibukum allati fi hujurikum min nisaikum, and the daughters of your wives who are under your guardianship. Allati dakhaltum bihinna, but daughters of those wives whom you have marriage has been solemnized, with whom real marriage has taken place. فَإِنْ لَمْ تَكُونُوا دَخَلْتُمْ بِهِنَّ, if you have not gone into them, فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ, then there is no blame or sin upon you. وَحَلَائِلُ أَبْنَائِكُمْ, and unlawful to you in marriage are wives of your sons, الَّذِينَ مِنْ أَصْلَابِكُمْ, who are sons from your loins, that means your blood sons, genetic. وَأَنْ تَجْمَعُوا بَيْنَ الْأُخْتَيْنِ, and unlawful to you are in marriage are that you join two sisters together in marriage. Illa ma qad salaf, except what has passed before. Inna Allah kana ghafurur rahim, surely Allah is all forgiving, the most merciful. Wal muhsanatu min an-nisa, and unlawful to you, O believers, are married women. That means those who are married to another person, they are unlawful to you in marriage. Illa ma malakat aymanukum, except what your right hand possesses. Kitab Allahi alaykum, this is a decree of Allah upon you, an ordinance, a law. Wa uhilla lakum, and lawful to you are in marriage, O believers, ma wara'a dhalikum, what the women beyond that, what have been already described beyond that. And tabtagu bi amwalikum, that you seek them by spending out of your wealth and property, wealth. Musinina gaira musafihin, that means desiring chastity and not unlawful sexual actions. فَمَسْتَمْتَعْتُمْ بِهِ مِنْهُنَّ, and then once you enjoy with them your life, فَآتُوهُنَّ أُجُورَهُنَّ فَرِيدَةً, then give them due compensation. What's obligatory, that's mahar and other expenses. فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ, and simultaneously there is no sin upon you. فِيمَا تَرَادَيْتُمْ بِهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ الْفَرِيضَةِ, if you agree, mutually, you agree with something after fixing of that marriage, mahar, etc. Inna Allah kana aliman hakima, surely Allah is all-knowing and all-wise. Sadaqallahul Azim. As I told you earlier, what was the prevalent conditions? The tribal system, era of ignorance, no moral values, no social structure. Women had no role or rights, no safeguard for their interests. Even they were, how could they inherit anything? They were themselves considered inheritance. At the death of a person, even whose wives were distributed among his legal heirs. And they could even marry them. If a person had 4, 5, 7 wives, they will be equally distributed among his sons. Imagine. Mothers being distributed as commodity, as an estate, like other cash and kind among the. And to this extent, even those sons would get married to their mothers, of course, stepmothers, other than their. But according to Quran, a woman who's married to your father is unlawful for you. She's like your mother, because she is your father's wife. So these things had to be made clear once for all, because no revelation was going to come after Quran, and no messenger after Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him. So everything was to be made quite clear. That's why Quran explained everything. وَلَا تَنْكِحُوا مَا نَكَحَ آبَاؤُكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ. Oh believers, don't marry those women whom your fathers got married. That means don't marry your mothers. Mothers and sons, even if they are set-up mothers. Which was a rule, they used to do it. إِلَّا مَا قَدْ سَلَفَ, except what has happened to the past. Because those who had accepted the faith of Islam, who had declared Shahada and became companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him. In olden days, they were part and parcel of that era of ignorance and that paganism and such social traditions. There are instances, few instances, when a Sahabi, a companion of the Prophet, peace be upon him, came. Oh my blood Prophet, in my old age I had committed such thing. Prophet, no, now you cannot do it. A person came that I am a Muslim now, O beloved Prophet. I have embraced your faith. But 2 sisters are in my marriage, in my wedlock. They are my wives. Prophet, no. What had happened in the past, as the next verse explains, you divorce one. You cannot keep 2 sisters simultaneously in marriage. So such things used to happen. And Islam declared it unlawful because they were immoral practices. وَلَا تَنْكِحُوا, don't marry مَا نَكَحَ آبَاؤُكُم مِّنَ النِّسَاءِ, among the women, those whom your fathers got married. إِلَّا مَا قَدْ سَلَفَ, except what happened in the past. إِنَّهُ كَانَ فَاحِشَةً. Quran says, surely it is fahisha. It is immoral. Yes, isn't it? It is immoral. وَمَقْتَى is a hateful thing. You cannot feel comfortable in such situations, circumstances. It is fahisha, immoral, makta, hateful. Wasa sabila, an evil way it is, if you adopt this. Marrying the wives of your fathers. Oh, that's too much. Then the next verse, Quran explains the women with whom a believer in no way can marry, cannot marry. And rest who are out of this domain, the women described in this verse. Then Quran says, وَأُهِلَ لَكُمْ مَا وَرَاءَ ذَلِكُمْ, and lawful to you in marriage or women other than what have been explained in these verses. So this is the prohibition explained in this verse as far as marriage is concerned. حُرِمَتْ عَلَيْكُمْ أُمَّهَاتُكُمْ, unlawful to you have been declared, made your mothers. That means in marriage, unlawful or prohibited in marriage, O believers, are your mothers. You cannot marry them. This Quran had to lay the foundation, perfect moral foundation. And here you should remember, it's not only mothers, as explained by Prophet, peace be upon him. Mothers mean ascendants. Mothers, grandmothers, and their great-grandmothers, all the ascendants. Mahadum, Vabanatukum, and your daughters. You cannot marry daughters. And it used to happen in olden times. We see from Greek mythology and philosophies, and in many countries, India and Arabs and other such things used to happen. But Quran says, no. Hurimat alaykum ummahatukum, unlawful to your marriage are your mothers. As I explained, Prophet explained it. For the mothers means going up, grandmother, great-grandmother, how far you can go up who are living. وَبَنَاتُكُمْ, and your daughters. Daughters mean not only your daughters, but granddaughters And even great granddaughters, what are these are unlawful downwards. That's upwards, it's downwards. وَأَخَوَاتُكُمْ, and your sisters are unlawful for you. And as Prophet peace be upon him explained, sisters include both real sisters and inseparable sisters, whether sisters through father or mother. Unlawful, you can marry them even if they're step sisters. Prophet explained that. وَأَمَّاتُكُمْ, and your paternal aunts, that is sisters of your father, you cannot marry them. They are not lawful to your marriage. And it is upwards like that, as I explained. وَخَالَاتُكُمْ, and similarly, your maternal aunts are not lawful to your marriage. That means sisters of your mothers, you can't marry them. Or upwards like that. If you go, their mothers are like that, it's unlawful. وَبَنَاتُ الْأَخِ, and unlawful to your marriage are daughters of your brothers. That means your nieces. Niece is unlawful in marriage, you cannot marry them. And downwards, their daughters, it continues downwards. وَبَنَاتُ الْأُخْتِ, and unlawful to your marriage are daughters of your sisters also. They are also nieces. Daughters of brothers and daughters of sisters, unlawful in marriage. وَأُمَّهَاتُكُمُ اللَّاتِي أَرْضَعْنَكُمْ, and your milk mothers, foster mothers, allati ardanakum, who have nursed you. That means any woman of whom you have taken milk, those mothers become unlawful for you. They are like your mothers, you cannot marry them. Though they are not your mothers by blood, but through milk they become your mothers. You cannot marry them. وَأَخَوَاتُكُمْ مِنَ الرَّضَاعِ, and foster sisters, that is the daughters of such mothers whom you have from whose milk you have drunk. Milk drinking means during that foster period, 2 years, during 2 years, that up to 2 years, from birth to 2 years, that those mothers and their daughters become unlawful to you for marriage. وَأُمَّهَاتُ نِسَائِكُمْ, and unlawful marriage to you are mothers of your wives, that is mother-in-law. Mother-in-law is unlawful, you cannot marry her. And then it goes up, their mothers upwards, grandmothers and like that. Need not explain everything, you can now understand it better. وَرَبَائِبُكُمُ اللَّاتِي فِي حُجُورِكُم مِّن نِّسَائِكُم, and the daughters of your wives who live under your guardianship. That means you marry a woman, she is already married. She is already married. Because in Islam, widow marriage is allowed, not allowed, it's encouraged. Yes, widows should go for marriage. There's no problem, no hesitation, no reluctance. You should. That's best for the society, for at individual level and collective level. So if you marry a woman who is already married, whether her husband has divorced her or he is died, she is a widow. She may be divorced or he may be widow. But that woman has a daughter, one or two, any daughter, that now she has to live with you. And those daughters, they come to your house. These daughters also become unlawful for you in marriage. You cannot marry them because they are the daughters of your wives. Though not of your real daughters, these are not from your lines, not your blood, but daughters of your wives, they become unlawful. That's what's explained here. رَبَائِبُكُمُ اللَّاتِي فِي حُجُورِكُم مِّن نِّسَائِكُم, and the daughters of your wives who are your wards, who live with you. اللَّاتِي دَخَلْتُم بِهِنَّ, but there is a rider. Daughters of those wives with whom you have performed marriage. That means it's not just any engagement ceremony or nikah ceremony, but with whom, in other words, with whom you have marriage has been solemnized, with whom you have had sexual relations. Daughters of such wives become unlawful. If you are just engaged to some widow or a divorcee, marriage has not solemnized, and that breaks, then this law doesn't apply. Then her daughters, or if not necessarily, but they don't become unlawful to you. You can, you may, or may not. فَإِن لَمْ تَكُونُوا دَخَلْتُمْ بِهِنَّ, But if you have not gone into them, that means if you are the wives, you have only engagement has or nikah ceremony has gone, but not real marriage, you have not slept with them, you have not had sex relations with them, then there's no problem. فَلَا جُنَاحَ عَلَيْكُمْ, then there's no sin or blame upon you. وَحَلَائِلُ أَبْنَائِكُمْ, and unlawful to you in marriage are wives of your sons. That means daughter-in-law becomes automatically unlawful to you in marriage. You cannot marry her. Even if the son may divorce her, or God forbid, son may die. But these are permanent. We call abdi muharramat. These are unlawful for all times to come. In no case such women you can marry, but who have been described above, including this وَحَلَائِلُ أَبْنَائِكُمْ. And the unlawful to you in marriage of believers are wives of your sons. But we sons, الَّذِينَ مِنْ أَصْلَابِكُمْ, who are from your lines. That means you are real sons. Your genetic sons, whose DNA, RNA belongs to you, and that means they are real sons. Not a son which you bring from some other and then adopt him, not an adopted son's wife. There's a law different. That doesn't come under this law. If adoption first in Islam is not allowed. But if somebody has his wife is not unlawful. The unlawful Quran says, "Halal abnaikum alladhina min aslabikum." Unlawful to you in marriage are wives of your sons, who are sons from your lines. You are blood sons, you are real sons. وَأَن تَجْمَعُوا بَيْنَ الْأُخْتَيْنِ, and also unlawful for you in marriage or believers are to join two sisters simultaneously in marriage. The believer cannot marry a woman, okay, she can marry, he can marry her, and then if you wish to go for another marriage, which is allowed, not recommended, but allowed in certain situations which we read in this chapter itself, you can go for a second marriage. But who's your wife? You cannot marry her sister. Two sisters cannot be simultaneously your wives. Yes, if a sister dies and after that you get married, that's okay. There's no problem. Absolutely no problem. But as far as those sisters are living, they cannot be your wives. That's it. One tajma by and unlawful to you is that you cannot have two sisters together or simultaneously in your wedlock. And as explained by Prophet, peace upon him, this applies also with aunt and niece. You cannot join them in marriage. With a paternal aunt and niece, or maternal aunt and niece cannot be joined together in marriage. You cannot have your mother's sister. That's unlawful. You cannot have, and they cannot be joined together. Illa ma qad salaf, except what has happened in the past. Such things used to happen. As I told you, give an example just now. A companion came to the Prophet, peace be upon him, "Oh, beloved Prophet, I have embraced Islam. Now I am your follower. I have adopted the faith of Islam. Now I was not previously. I have two wives, two sisters who are married to me." Prophet said, "No, nothing doing. Nothing doing. Now as a Muslim, you cannot live with them. You have to get separate from one and keep only one sister, not two." Inna Allah kana ghafur rahim. Surely Allah is all forgiving, the most merciful. These are unlawful in marriage. Then one more thing. Wal musanatu minan nisa. And unlawful to you in marriage are married women. That means a woman who is married to some other person. She will not be related to you. She is not your mother. She is not your sister. She is not your niece. Or she is not your daughter-in-law or anything. But a woman who is married to some other person ultimately becomes unlawful to you, because polygamy is allowed to some extent in circumstances, but polyandry is not allowed in Islam. A woman cannot have two husbands. This is immoral. That doesn't. Some people argue. Some people argue just for the sake of argument. That if polygamy is allowed, if a man can have more than one wife, though it's not the divine ordinance, you should marry more than one. No, They say if a man can have more than one wife, 2 or 3 wives, or up to 4. Why can't a woman have 3 or 4 husbands? Imagine. This is argument for the sake of argument, having no basis whatsoever. It seems quite unthinkable, unimaginable. It's not possible. Imagine a woman sleeping with 3 women and then she gets pregnant. There's a problem. Whose son or daughter she is holding in her womb? And it is from any standard nobody can accept it except an arrogant person who can argue just for the sake of argument. But then Quran says, "Wal muhsanatu minan nisa," and unlawful to you in marriage, O believers, are those women who are already married to somebody. Illa ma malakat aymanukum, except what your right hand possesses, because at the time, during wars, if victorious army, they would get all the properties and the war booties, and together with male, they would be as male slaves and women as female slaves, and with those women slaves, even if they would be married in other countries or other places, they were lawful for men. But Quran says, "Wal muhsanatu minan nisa," and unlawful to you in marriage are those women who are already married, illa ma malakat aymanukum, except those whom your right hand possesses. Kitab Allah alaykum. These are laws, decrees of Allah, ordinances upon you. Then these are unlawful. Then what Quran says, and lawful to you in marriage are women beyond that. Then out of this whole structure already explained, other women are lawful to you. But antabtagu, very important point, antabtagu bi amwalikum. That you seek them through your wealth and property. That means once it is addressed to males, as I told you, I hope you remember, just a couple of days back, I talked about it, but in a short form. Now it is clear here that otherwise women are lawful to, other than these described above. But that you seek them in marriage by spending your wealth. That means in an Islamic system, in Muslim communities, responsibility of marriage, a responsibility of spending anything on marriage has been put on the shoulders of males. Man, husband, not the wife. They have to spend out of their wealth. They have to pay mahar to their wives, not vice versa. They have to give gifts what they would like to give to her wife. They have to arrange everything for her, not vice versa, as we see in present day in our communities, where we expect more expenditure on women's side than on the male side. Though woman, a bride, or her household, her parents, are under no obligation to spend anything on marriage. It is sole responsibility of husband or family or his parents, father, etc. Nothing on the female side. The Quran says that yes, lawful, rest of the women are lawful to you. And tabtagu bi amwalikum, that you seek them in marriage by spending your wealth. Musinina, gaira musafihin. You seek them in marriage, but in a respectable manner. That means they should be desiring chastity. There's a principle of marriage, chastity and gaira musafihin, and not unlawful sex relations. That should not be the basis of marriage. It should be with due honor, with due respect, and maintenance of chastity from both sides, from husband and wife side. It should be perfect, pure marital relations, not just for the sake of sexual activity or satisfaction of sexual desires. And since you take enjoyment from them, that means you live together with your wives, they give themselves up for you. A wife gives herself in to you, O husbands. Give them due compensation, that means mahar. What's obligation? Husband is under obligation to pay the dower, not dowry, dower. That's bridal gifts, which we call mahar. That's to be paid. Wala junaha alaykum. then there is no blame or sin upon you. فِيمَا تَرَادَيْتُمْ بِهِ مِنْ بَعْدِ الْفَرِيدَةِ. If after fixing of the mahar, with mutual consultation you agree to something, as we read last time too, that wife missurrendered, she said, okay, I give up. I surrender my right of or mahar, either wholly or part of it. Then, but it should be with total willingness. No pressure, or moral or physical or any social pressure. Of her own free will, if they agree to something after fixing of the mahar, then there's no, she forgoes a part of it or whole of it, no problem. Inna Allah kana aliman hakima. Surely Allah is all knowing. He has knowledge. That's why such laws are given to you. He knows. That means knowledge is, oh man, he knows you better than you know yourself. He understands your needs better than you know. And his laws are based on perfect divine knowledge. And Hakima, his laws are based on perfect divine wisdom. Whether you understand it or not, that is your problem. There's limitation of your own senses. Otherwise, divine laws are according to knowledge of Allah and His wisdom. صدق الله العظيم وصدق رسوله النبي الكريم والحمد لله رب العالمين.